Hello, Octalysis Primers. Today, I want to cover something that's very dear to my heart, which is creating an extension to the real-life RPG series on Octalysis Prime. Now, many of you do know about the real-life RPG series. It breaks down your real life into 6 steps. What's game you're playing, which is your industry, what's your role, which is your occupation, what your stats are, the talents, what your skills are, your abilities, your alliance, your network, and your quests, which is your achievements. So those are the things we kind of laid out in that framework, and people like it a lot. And it's been a couple years since then. Actually, I created this way back. It's created this at least like 7-8 years ago, but on Octalysis Prime, it's been a couple years. It has so much popularity that I really wanted to flesh it out more, and this fits really well into my eventual second book. I will be titling 10,000 Hours of Play, and don't ask me when it's going to come out because it takes a lot of time. I'm really busy with all these consulting projects and maintaining Octalysis Prime, creating videos every week and improving the features and the products. So don't ask me when, but it's slowly building into that, right? So I call it 10,000 Hours of Play, which nicely abbreviates into 10k HP, like 10,000 HP, which is health points in games. If I say 10k HP, it's referring to 10,000 hours of play. So what I would like to do is just to further elaborate on a lot of the things that we talked about in the real-life RPG. And we've also changed up a few things. We made some improvements, I believe, based on the feedback I received, and of course continuous learning. Then we can flesh it out. So remember, the first step is really choosing your game. And so for today, when you choose your game, we're going to talk about how do we actually choose our game. It's easy to say, oh, find what you're passionate about, but it's obviously not easy for people to do it, and there is no surefire way. But in this video, we're going to explore a bit more on how to find the game that you want to play. What is the industry you want to be? What is the field you want to be? Another thing I wanted to quickly bring up is I changed a little bit of the order of the 10k HP system. So one of the things I've changed from the higher level structure is that in the real life RPG series that perhaps you just watched 10 minutes ago, is that step 2 was choose your role. And then after you choose your role, then you figure out what your stat is. And after a lot of feedback, a lot of exploration with people, I realized that probably is not the most optimal order. It's probably better to first explore what your attributes are, what your talents are, and then based on that, choosing your role. I think that makes more sense. It's just because I kind of recognized my talents a bit earlier, so I just felt like that can be a later step. I think it makes a lot more sense that this comes as the second component. So anyway, today we are actually going to cover the first part again, choosing your game. And earlier we talked about how when you choose your game, that's what you want to dedicate your life to. That's what makes your life meaningful. And it's not yet based on your talents, your skills. It's just based on what you really care about. What is that end goal you want to strive for? And some examples we talk about, the game you want to play doesn't have to be super ambitious, right? It should be meaningful, but it doesn't have to be super ambitious. It doesn't have to be, I want to create a company, I want to change the world, I want to solve all these world problems. It literally could just be, I want to be a great husband for life. I want my kids to grow up happy, or I want to make my coworkers successful. I want to be the person who, wherever I meet, their lives became a little better because of me. So those are all games to play, right? And based on what games you pick, you would actually take steps and dedicate your life to making these things happen. So again, I'm not the judge to say what's a good game, what's a bad game. Everyone has their own game that they're playing. And my thing is, you want to pick your game carefully. You want to pick a game that you actually care about, and then you want to take the right steps into the game, as opposed to not knowing the games you're going to play, or playing a game that you actually don't want to play, the game that you hate, that you don't care about. Or 3, you care about this game immensely, but you don't know what are the right steps to go forward. Or you know the steps, but you're not motivated enough to do it. So those are bad scenarios. And so, but as long as you like your game and you do it, that's fine. And of course, we talk about your game doesn't have to be set for life, right? You can change your mind. You can say, hey, I thought this is what I cared about, but but now I don't care about it as much. I want to do something else. That's fine too. You can also be playing multiple games at once, right? You can play the game of being a great father, a great family man, and the game of starting a company. But usually we don't recommend playing more than 2 or 3 games at once because then you're overly stretched and you become pretty mediocre at all the games you're going to play. It's better to be awesome in a few places than to be mediocre or crappy everywhere. So it's better to be really good at one game as opposed to be complete crap in 100 games. So generally speaking, there's 3 different ways to think about what kind of game you want to play. The first step is to identify your passions. And we've heard this advice a lot. Go find what you're passionate about and go do it. And I know it's pretty hard for some people because a lot of times when we're passionate about something, we already know it. We already care immensely about this. And sometimes people are very lucky. Since they're in middle school, they discovered what they want to do in life. They want to be a professional skater. They want to protect animals. They want to be a doctor. And throughout their lives, they always stick to that game and they stick to that role. I think that's really great. They know they're passionate. By the way, even though we talk about your game is kind of your industry, you shouldn't think about your game as in I want to just be a doctor. You want to think about what do you want to accomplish in your life. Not just to be a doctor, but why do you want to be a doctor? So your game would be I want to save as many lives as possible. Or I want to be as prestigious. I want to bring honor and pride to my family, right? It's up to you. But the key thing is, it's not just I want to graduate from a good school or whatnot. It's about the why, the purpose, and the meaning behind the game that matters more than the industry, the role itself. I want you to always remember that. But so sometimes people have many interests, and you have many interests, but you don't feel like you have a passion. You don't know what you're passionate about. By the way, one of the ways to maximize the probability that you have a passion is to learn a lot of things, right? Read a lot about what's happening in the world, understand current events, learn about sustainability, world peace, how technology works. Sometimes, as you learn about more and more behavioral design, behavioral science, right, or gamification, sometimes as you learn about more things, then you realize, whoa, this thing is seriously attracting me. I really want to dedicate my life to this, and therefore you find your passion. If you're spending every single day in the same loop over and over again, you're never expanding your knowledge into new places, it's like no wonder why you still haven't found a passion yet, because you're only looking under one rock, right? You need to look through a lot of rocks to find that crab that you can capture and eat if you like eating crabs. It's funny because they say there's a term called the world is your oyster, and it's like, but what if you don't like oyster? Then the world is not a friendly place for you. You're disgusted by oysters. I like oysters. So again, some people, they can't really easily find their passion, which means that they go to the second potential method to find what game they're playing. And what we like to talk about is, what do you think about when your mind is at play, when you're most relaxed?